Hi, I'm Rob Skiff, a member of the Oplerno team, and I'm with.
Michael Abrams. I'm a faculty on Oplerno, and I'm developing a course, Introduction to Sustainability. You can see the course description on the Oplerno site.
And what we're going to do is we're going to be workshopping how to take a basic outline and make it a course on Canvas. We're going to be talking about looking at the video and the help features on the Canvas, on our content management system with Canvas. We're also going to be taking a look at online resources that are free and available to you to integrate in with your, with your courses, and also dealing with any questions that come up from the audience and some questions that Michael has as we proceed through an initial round of development for this introduction to sustainability class. So the first thing that I want to talk about is we're going to share the screen. I'm just going to double check to make sure that all of Rob's windows are closed so that I don't get in trouble with Dan and Daniel. And everything is almost ready. I should have done this ahead of time. Okay, and before I share my screen. And now we're going to share the screen. And here we go. And then we'll move on and take a look at the canvas. So earlier in the day, we were using the wiki to design courses for design degree and certificate programs, and making that very public. When you're talking about the design of your course, we really want you to spend most of your time on Canvas, on your Canvas account for Oplerno, and use that as the way to organize and create your classes. So Michael has a not completed, he has the course description, which is on the Oplerno's website, so it's under development. It has to go through some stages of review. We actually put it on for enrollment. And so Michael's got a few outlines, and then what we're going to show, Michael, you're new to Canvas, correct?
Correct.
What others have you used content management before?
I've taught on Blackboard, Angel, and Moodle, so I know the territory, but I haven't really developed a course except with the help of a course designer.
Okay, so we're kind of going to serve the role as helping you with in terms of the course design piece. As we move and create more courses in our catalog, faculty members who would like to actually purchase a course or get a course licensed to them by another faculty member can do that. That's a feature that we're going to add sometime in the next 6 months as we get together more of a catalog. I think you're going to find that Canvas is a lot better than Blackboard. It's a lot simpler to use. For Oplerno, it's really good because the cost of Canvas is $20 per student user, and the development costs in terms of the upfront costs that you need. I was quoted over $100,000 to use Blackboard,
right.
And to get it initially set up, but Canvas and Instructure were great. They did it for a lot less than that, less than $10,000, and they're just a phenomenal group, and they do great things with Open API, etc. So we love Canvas. They're an awesome product and an awesome support team. So you'll like it much better.
Okay.
So we, you shot me the basic sort of outline that you've got in terms of 7 different kinds of units.
Yes.
Okay.
This is modeled on Carmendale triangle. It's called Davis Triangle.
Mm-hmm.
That shows human well-being at the top and a series of layers: natural capital at the bottom, then human capital and built capital, then social capital, and quality of life and well-being are at the top. And that, I think that's a very compelling model of sustainability, and I want to develop a course structure based on that model. So the course itself will represent that model. And I think that it will make for a lot of interesting, unexpected connections where students can start with what we're doing and make their own, use it as a template to make their own understanding of the subject,
Okay.
rather than imposing an understanding.
Okay, that's great. And you know, the Canvas, so you've got a really good idea of where you want to go. Have you thought about, you know, at the end of the class, have you thought about the 6 to 10 skills that you want students to have?
And I actually have that in the description on the.
Okay, so let's do this for a second. Let me just create a new tab. Okay, and we're going to go to the enroll at oplerno.com. Did I spell that right?
Yes.
I hope so. Introduction to Sustainability. Okay. Great. So here's the list of skills that students can expect to have.
And this is a very preliminary version of it.
Sure. Let's cut and paste that in, and we'll add that to this to the outline of the syllabus, which will be more formal. But the syllabus is a great place to edit syllabus description. The syllabus is a great place, you know, to kind of place your initial thoughts on, you know, on paper if you want to do that within, on ones and zeros, if you want to do that within Canvas. You can also, of course, import, you know, Word documents, but I personally think it's a great thing to, if you're working on Canvas, even if maybe an idea is not completely sketched out or completed, work within that structure. It's really, really helpful.
Right. Okay,
so let's go down to the skills. Here we are. Sometimes it takes a little bit for the update to occur, and it's probably due to the broadband issues that we've got right here. Okay, so the sustainability, the skills are have a broad understanding of sustainability in all its aspects, ecological, social, economic, and how they interrelate. That's a really great example of something that can be in the portfolio.
We seem to be experiencing some technical difficulties with the connection for Rob. We're going to try and solve those as soon as possible, and we're going to see if we can solve these as quickly as possible and be back there in a moment. Okay. No. Thank you for your patience. We still seem to be having some technical difficulties. We'll be right with you in a moment. Thank you. We still seem to be experiencing some technical difficulties. We're going to try and get Rob and Michael back to you as soon as possible. Thank you. Hi, we still seem to be experiencing some technical difficulties. Rob is restarting his laptop and he's moving us to access, so we should be with you shortly. Thank you.
Hey, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Dan, can you come on for a second? Daniel?
Yes, I can hear you.
Roughly where did we get cut off?
Well, you got cut off while you were after you pasted the canvas. Or what's it called? You were editing the syllabus. You pasted some things in the syllabus.
So the skills list probably?
Probably the skills list, yeah.
Okay, so we'll just take up trying again. Thank you guys very much for your patience. It's really nice that Carmen Birdhouse in Burlington is letting us use the conference room. But sometimes internet gets a little squishy up there. So we just moved to the office, and we'll see whether the reception is better there. And why don't you guys, if there's a glitch like that that comes up, telephone me. Otherwise, we may not get the message. I'll just double check to make sure Padillo is working. Okay. There we go. All right. So let's go back to the syllabus. So they lost us at the cut and paste, and so we talked a little bit about how this is the skills list for the course 1 through 7. Skills. Skills can not only be things that we do. Oh wait. Let me make sure that I'm sharing the screen. Okay, hold on. Skills can not only be. Here we go. Share. Syllabus. Okay, now we're back. Skills can not only be what you can do, but they can be content areas of understanding that you, content areas. And so we talked a little bit about how would you document understanding how human health serves as a general indicator of sustainability. So it's not only what it is, but how would you document that? And I gave an example of how I would. I've traveled to China and done some work there, and I took the road from the airport in Beijing into the center of the city, and noticed as I was going down the road that all the trees, the leaves on those trees had a silver sheen to it. And I was with a biologist and a person who knows a lot about botany, and we actually asked the taxi driver to stop, turned off the road, and looked at the leaves, and he said this is classic indicator of the fact that the leaves aren't getting enough sunlight due to the smog. And so, you know, you could film that. You could also film and explain about the fact that a lot of people are wearing masks, you know, in some of the really bad smoggy days, which means there's a lot of particulate matter in the air, which leads to higher respiratory infections and, you know, potential, you know, cancers and other bad diseases. So it's not only, you know, you take a concept like a content area of understanding, a concept like this notion of population health serving as an indicator of sustainability, and you show how that is applied in a real world situation.
Right.
And that's a really critical piece. Let's just do let's do one more so we have another example. Which one?
The important role that long-term processes play in sustainability, such as globalization and urbanization.
Okay. And that's number
6.
Number 6. What? So what do you mean by macro social processes?
Globalization and urbanization are processes
Okay.
that really encompass society as a whole. Societies as a whole.
So the fact that that tipping point was reached a few years ago, where you have more people living in large cities
Right.
than you do in the countryside.
Right.
But I thought that large cities meant that actually living in a large city means you use fewer resources.
And actually, there's an article that I'd love to bring into this if it's open source by William Rees, who says called "Why Cities Are Unsustainable." Why cities are unsustainable and why they are the key to sustainability. So it's a dialectical situation.
Okay. So again, understanding what that content area is, I've got to figure out, and of course I haven't taken the class, but in terms of that unit and the things that you're talking about over the course with your content areas, that I'll have an understanding of that, and then I should be able to document an example of that process, that I understand it, that I've documented as part of the skills portfolio, which then, again, since you've taken an Oplerno class, the skills portfolio is a big part of the documentation of the learning in addition to the grade, and so that follows you throughout your time. And just want to reiterate the point that that when we're developing the course, that please, our suggestion is make sure that you're putting your materials in the Canvas website, since it's so good. Make sure that it's there, that you're putting it in the site, and that because then you can use that as sort of your Blackboard, your canvas, and upon which to build your course. Wow, what clever people those guys are, guys and gals. So,
so is the syllabus like the master control for the course?
Well, if you notice on the left-hand side, you've got the home for the class. Okay. Now, this course is unpublished. You're the only one who publishes it, and then it goes to us for approval.
Right.
Okay. So the home is sort of the list of, you can see here, great, so you've got a course, now what? Okay. Before you go publishing it to the world, you might want to check to make sure you've got the basics laid out. And then it shows all kinds of next steps, importing your content, adding a course assignment, adding students to the course. Now, we're going to do that ourselves. We're going to do that for you through our open API and through our marketplace program, so you don't need to worry about that. Adding TAs to the course, we're not enabling that feature quite yet. So just think about, importing content, adding course assignments. Okay, well, let's get to that in a little bit. But if we're talking about the major stuff, the first thing is to get a really good understanding of the syllabus and the resources, okay, that are brought to bear. Now, you did mention though the fact that in this intro class you have these 5 Daly's triangle, 5 capitals, the 5 types of capital, I assume.
Right.
Okay. Anthropocene, era, integral theory, human population health, and peak everything.
Right.
Okay. So these are concepts, and what you've got is you want to find resources that are that the students can use to understand those concepts.
Right.
Okay.
And actually, I've revised that, so let's start with natural capital.
Okay.
Because that's more. Let's start with the second category, the second.
Okay.
Thing.
So natural capital, carrying capacity, ecological footprint,
right.
Biodiversity, extinction crisis, climate change.
Right.
Now, again, you've listed out these 7 kinds of units.
Right.
And have you thought about, do you want basically to create articles in sort of a packet that students would read, or are you interested potentially in exploring textbooks that other people have written on these subjects that you can use to help highlight these ideas?
I'm starting from articles and YouTube videos.
Okay. Let me just, since I want to show some people about other resources that are available.
Sure.
Let's say, for example, you took that first option. You wanted to find a textbook. Okay. One of the things that's really great about the internet is a lot of open source materials, and one of the best is, in my opinion, OpenStax CNX, which is a free service. It's available at Rice University down in Texas. And what you can do is you can search for content. Okay. Sustainability. And it's looking through filters it's searching through all the stuff to find different resources. Okay, look, sustainability, a comprehensive foundation.
And I'm familiar with that. I think that's one approach, but it doesn't jive with my understanding.
Okay. Really great though that here is a textbook, an open source textbook for free that can be downloaded by the students.
Right.
You can get this book along with
so they can use this
a description. Use it as a reference. It might be something to include, but you said you weren't interested in that one, which is fine. So what we're going to do is we can take a look at other particular sources of textbooks or books, printed, written material that highlight that. Look at all the particular listings. Okay, study of how a region can leverage participation in a global network to accelerate the development of a sustainable technology cluster. Okay, assessment practices. Collection is developed to serve as a repository for a grant under the development of the University of Puerto Rico. Since it's all open source, you can use it. That's what they want. CNX wants people to do. So this is a way to get, when you're using open source articles, the issue that comes up a lot is it a legitimate, quote, a legitimate article? Has it been peer reviewed? Okay, you can, is the resource that you're using, the textbook, etc., is it legit? Okay, whatever legitimacy means in your discipline. And the really neat thing is that you can take a look at all these particular resources and judge that for themselves. I mean, interesting. A recorded video lecture by Professor Richard Matthew on February 16th. You can ethics and sustainability. A lot of courses have a guest lecturer that comes in. Well, you have a guest lecturer, and we can look up Professor Richard Matthew and see, what his background is, and whether or not that would be somebody you would want in the class. Look at all the particular free resources. 7 pages of it. We'll skip to 4. And
but there's going to be something in there that I'm going to be able to incorporate, I'm sure.
Yep.
With all that.
I also want to show, and we'll take a look at, so this can be a source of articles or materials or textbooks. You can, of course, look at the search results and look at here are the 4 books that were 4 OpenStacks, the 4 textbooks on sustainability. Assessment practices, those are the only 4 books. So maybe you change the search, you broaden it. I want to talk a little bit about another open source. Articles are really expensive. Okay, articles aren't necessarily expensive. The databases that articles are from, JSTOR, incredibly expensive.
Science Direct.
Yep. The publishing companies are making a fair amount of money. Who isn't making money is the people who actually produce the materials, which is, in my opinion, not okay. So how do we change that dynamic? Peer review is really important, but this website, academia.edu, which we'll talk about, is trying to do in terms of disintermediation of the peer review journal process. If you head down,
so you can actually look up professors and experts and see if they're on there and see what articles they posted.
Yeah, so let's pick one that you particularly like.
Try William Rees.
Okay, why don't you type that in on the top in the search. William Rees, University of Oxford?
No, actually British Columbia.
Okay. Independent scholar, researcher, Chardiff? Well, that's a research interest.
Yeah.
Maybe that is him. Documents. What's blocking environmental culture? So that's probably connected with William Rees. Okay.
It's the kind of thing he would write about.
Yeah, well, this is by Keith R. Peterson.
Right.
Okay, but and it says research interests William Rees. Let's click on William Rees for a second, and what we can. No, that's all. That's him. You know, you can
So it probably has an
load the
article
preview.
with a reference to him.
Yep, what's blocking environmental culture? So this is a person who I think probably potentially wrote it for a class. Okay, but you can read through it and see whether or not. That's in his recent essay called "What's Blocking Sustainability?" William Rees, Canadian ecologist, and the person who did the ecological footprint. That's a good book. This is obviously some kind of paper for a course, and you can kind of decide whether or not this paper was good enough. I don't think it's peer reviewed, okay? But just because it's peer reviewed doesn't mean the person isn't going to have, even if it's in my opinion, even if it's a graduate student or even an undergraduate student, take a look at the article and see whether or not that article is a good one, and highlight some of the things that that you think is important. That's an open source piece. If we take a look, to use an example from my stuff, none of these are peer-reviewed journal articles, okay? But they might have an interesting take, not for the ecological piece, but what they do is they allow you to see the legitimacy and the following of particular people. You're going to get you do sometimes get a lot of comments, okay? So you can use the comment section, okay, that when you post an article, to see whether or not that article is legitimate. So what I mean by open source peer review is academia.edu allows you to upload things, and then what they want is a rigorous review process by people who are reading particular articles, etc. But it's sort of a buyer beware format. But it does provide a tremendous amount of classes. If I look, you can look up your favorite people, okay, your favorite sort of followers, and figure out whether or not they've got some resources like this. This guy, Professor Valenzuela at University Católica in Chile, he's published a lot of articles on social networking. Okay, you can look up, you can look up people in your discipline in the search function, see whether they've published, and go directly to their source.
Now, are people allowed to post their own articles? Does that violate something that they have?
You mean if you've published it with a journal,
right,
and you upload it, it
right,
completely depends upon the journal,
right,
and who owns the copyright.
Right.
So for a lot of the professors, they own the copyright of the materials that they produce,
right,
so they can upload it and put it on academia.edu.
And certainly the higher profile ones will keep their copyright?
Well, it depends. And academia.edu has gotten sort of tagged in terms of
violation.
They've been asked to take articles down, and then they get into legal tussles, and generally they're able to, they contact the professor themselves and they say, hey, the professor actually owns the material.
Right.
Let me just check. I want to check our messages because we seem to be getting a fair amount of Facebook, Twitter feeds. We have a suggestion. In addition to open source options, many listed on the wiki now, consider fair use. Information on the wiki for those who are unfamiliar. So War Maiden has added the open source options that people have in fair use doctrine for you to look up and follow. Another comment, faculty can also consider contacting article authors directly. Most are happy to share their articles for use in class. It's really important to remember that professors are really excited when people are reading their articles. So again, if you've got a particular person whose article you want, shoot them an email, and they can maybe give you the article, and say, hey, put it up. Yep. You you can ask members for their cited paper. Often they can't post the full text due to restrictions. That's true. One of the ways that JSTOR and all these big database companies are making gobs of cash is they lock the professors in when you submit a journal article, when you submit an article to a particular journal. So you have to check with them. I think that, just like Oplerno is trying to shake up and be an open source learning organization, academia.edu is trying to be an open source for journal articles, for peer review articles. And it's going to take a little while to gain traction, but there are tons of articles that are really, really good. And I like it because you can see someone's, a big thing with legitimacy is academic impact. Okay, now we can see, okay, that this professor here, 32,000 downloads. Okay, that's not bad at all. A lot of followers, and you can you can follow that. I don't have nearly so many, but that's okay. Maybe one day.
Who does?
So that's check out the academia.edu, and you can go through and you can take a look at all of these. So let's try biodiversity extinction, okay, as an example. And so we'll just try we could do the Google search and do the Google Scholar, but let's go, let's do this. Biodiversity extinction. No articles. We'll,
I'm sure there are other categories. Just look biodiversity.
Biodiversity. Research interest. Ooh, 4,000 articles.
And I'm sure there's a category just for extinction crisis.
Yeah. Okay. Distribution of the different, yes. Stuff that is of interest to people, and stuff that would, that you could, you can integrate. Now, again, you're going to have to probably go through, oh, this is interesting. So biodiversity at 25 years.
That's the kind of
revolution or red herring. We take a look. Forthcoming. Ethics, policy, and environment. So, you can contact the authors, but hey, this is up on her. This is up on her academia.edu page. Sorry, on his, and you can see that person's academic impact and potentially some other things that they've written that you might want to integrate in your class. Okay. I like this. Against the yuck factor on the ideal role in society. For all of you out there who are professors, who are instructors at Oplerno, we really want you to create an academia.edu profile and register your materials, okay? Because it allows students and other faculty to see what you're interested in and what you're writing about. And we're just starting the process of reaching out to people, and you can. The neat thing is you can also request to be a member of a particular group. We've got 7 people, 23 documents, people in the humanities, law, and science, and it allows us to check out what we're interested in, but it also allows the students to see what they're interested in. Okay, so we've gone over that. We've let's go back to here, and I want to click the help topics. So when you're doing a conversion to a particular class, it's really, when you're building it in Canvas, you're going to have questions about how to upload a video. So you can search the Canvas guides, okay? So you type in a how do I downloading video to my class. Do downloading video. How do I download a video recorded in a WebEx archive? What training resources does instructor provide clients? I can look through and I can find an answer. How do I create a file upload question? Well, I take a look at the question, and you're looking for YouTube videos. And why don't we say placing YouTube in a class? I bet you someone's asked that question.
I think it's YO YouTube.
Let's see. I don't think so. No.
Oh, one word.
Well, this is not a very good example of their help function. Oh, but look at this. Getting started in Canvas. A Canvas and Structure Quick Guide. Okay. How do I create a new page? What do I do if I'm recording? I like the video guides, but what's even better is you can email Dan Kirk, or you can email questions@oplerno.com, and we can set up a time to help you, download and place the videos and such. There are examples. You can also go online with the discussion groups, and there are faculty members who are online who can also help and walk you through that process because they're doing those videos in their own class. So while I might not have put in the correct search term, as you use things more, it becomes easier and easier to find the help that you need. The guides that Canvas has, the guide that Canvas has to learning how to do, the videos, okay, is great. Getting started, okay, Canvas Help Center, Canvas training. What type of live training does it use? What are some other resources that we can use? And remember that Dan Kirk has designed an excellent class just on a faculty orientation and a faculty guide.
Right.
So you can go on that, and we're here to help you. Okay. Oh, thank you, War Maiden. It says nerdy librarian at your service. Well, we appreciate it. We've got to look out for each other as we're trying to develop our classes and figure out how to use and how to create new material really quickly. So that's kind of a real basic guide to starting integrating your course in Canvas, getting some resources and placing stuff in the class. So any other questions that you had a few earlier, a few when we were talking during the break in terms of approach pedagogically. Do you want to go over those?
Just how do you find the middle ground between a completely open-ended set of questions and giving them license to make their own answers and a rigid textbook command and control approach where students are led through led through the course like a maze? How do you find that? Is there any guide to help you to find that middle ground, or is that just trial and error?
Well, I don't think it's trial and error. It's in my experience, whether you're proscriptive or more constructivist, or what you call open-ended, it depends on the discipline that you're teaching. Okay, some disciplines lend themselves to being much more, much more prescriptive when you're trying to teach people how to do a specific function. Okay, but again, you always have to have at the end, if you're prescriptive, you always have to have at the end something where they're applying it to a problem that they have.
Right.
Okay, so that allows you to make sure that somebody actually knows how to do something rather than just talk about it. Right. In the case of mathematics, it's the difference between someone who is good at doing computation. Okay, there are some kids you can give them equations and they'll run through it. They have no idea how to apply a mathematical equation to a real-world problem.
Savants.
Okay, yeah, or just computational. They're calculators. Okay, but what really is the great thing is when you have somebody who's an applied mathematician, okay, or an engineer, and they can use math and apply it to a real-world problem. On the other hand, there are some occasions where, depending, we're talking about, I taught in philosophy, okay? And I would assign a book or a series of books, and we would read them. And to help the students learn about critical thinking and reasoning and argumentation, I kind of allowed them to pick the topics that they wanted to discuss, or I tried to lead them, through a series of leading questions, to sort of, play and deal with particular issues. So I was kind of a little bit more constructivist. If there was a guide to of where to land for each subject, we wouldn't have teaching jobs, and you wouldn't, because the problem would have been solved. So I would say that it's not trial and error, it's just that keep in mind your subject matter, the subject material that you're teaching, keep in mind your classroom. Some students, I've had students who really responded well to the prescriptive piece, okay, in which case I tried to make them a little bit more constructivist. But then again, I've had students who are way too constructivist, okay, and don't understand about how to learn the basics. That again in computer modeling, hey, you needed to know what feedback loops were. You couldn't just sort of willy-nilly start modeling a system. You had to have a conceptual framework.
You have to know the rules before you can break them.
Yep. Yes, the classic Karate Kid, wax on, wax off, sweeping and all of that. But I shouldn't use cultural references from the 1960s. I mean, 1970s. So yeah, you've got to have that balance. And again, as we said yesterday, there's a fine line between stupid and clever. You've got to judge your audience. You've got to judge the content. And good teaching is going to be good teaching, whether it's in the classroom or whether it's online. So use the same types of measurements and forms. The difference in terms of what we're doing with Canvas is that you're going to be doing this in an asynchronous fashion generally, so you won't see your students, okay, to see whether what you've done is successful or not. I can judge engagement in a classroom by kind of looking at people, seeing whether people are looking at me in the eye, seeing whether the students are engaged in the discussion. Online, I do that by seeing what's in the discussion posts. When are people posting reactions? The best classes I have been the ones where students, even though we were using some online tools, they were all located in the same geographical area, and I knew they were engaged because the best discussions were occurring at 1 and 2 in the morning, okay, on weekends. I mean, what students, between the ages of 18 and 21 are actually coming back, and I certainly wasn't coming back and engaging in philosophical discourse, between 1 and 3 a.m. on a Friday or Saturday night. So I knew they were really engaged and excited about the course when that was happening. So you've got to leave those types of there's no guide. It's not trial and error, but you've got to use some kinds of measurements to get an understanding. And it is going to vary on subject material. So sustainability, I'd say you have listed your concepts that you want to teach them. You have listed the skills. But in the application of the skills to their context, where they are in the globe, they should have free reign to choose. If they want to talk about a post-industrial society, in Detroit, Michigan is going to mean something different than a post-industrial society in Shanghai or Vermont. So allow people the flexibility to apply these concepts to their situations.
So this is very place-based.
Well, I'd say sustainability is, okay? But that's my background, if you do a LinkedIn search or a Google search of what I've done, I mean, I love place-based stuff, okay? It's really, really important. But again, that's with sustainability, and that's my take. Your take may be different, in which case, Oplerno's got to create the flexibility to allow for different approaches. They just have to be, in my opinion, well thought out and considered approaches.
Well, if you can apply it to your own locality, maybe you haven't really connected with it.
Yeah, well, if you can't apply knowledge to your life and your situation, then is it really worth it? that's a good note to end on. Thank you all very much for your time, and thank you for tuning in to another workshop. And oops, let me just stop the screen share. So thank you all very much for your time, and we will see you in about an hour when I'm going to be workshopping a technology in the classroom certification proposal. So we'll talk with you then, and have a good day, and see you online.